Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thanks for tuning in and welcome. A lot of you guys have been saying the audio levels have been way too low, so hopefully I fixed that. This video is going to be a price forecast slash thoughts on the precious metals market over the next year type of video. I cover so many articles on this channel, reading other people's thoughts and perspectives. Sometimes it's good to take a step back and share my own. Now, there's a really interesting thing that's going to happen in the investing world, and that is this. Regardless of who wins, precious metals will come out on top. You can't say that about any other investment, about anything else. Gold and silver will benefit regardless if candidate A wins, candidate B wins, and whether they go this route or that route. Every single situation scenario that happens will be bullish for gold and silver. Now, this video is going to be a price forecast video, so I have to give a disclaimer. I am not saying that silver is going to reach $100 tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year, not even probably in 5 years. But I can guarantee $100 silver will happen much quicker than most people think, and I'll explain that later on. And I purposely chose to make this video my thoughts over the next year because I want to compare it to last year. Last year was pretty interesting. Most of the focus last year was the U.S.-China trade negotiations, the Hong Kong protests, Saudi Arabian oil fields getting attacked, all of that type of stuff, right? That was the majority of what was affecting prices. And that gives us a little bit of an insight on what's to happen coming up. And I say it like this. In March, when silver reached $11, right? That was the lowest or the cheapest silver's ever been relative to gold. And that started from the spark of the pandemic. Now, if we can look back to 2008 when the credit crisis started, 3 years later led to $50 silver. That started from a $9 low in 2008, led to $50 silver 3 years later. Similarity is $11 silver in March, which already led to near $30 silver a couple months later in August. So the similarities are interesting, especially since there was a recession slash depression, billion-dollar stimulus packages getting put together, and you see where that led, $50 silver. Similarity nowadays, $11 silver in March, trillion-dollar stimulus packages, a global pandemic, a U.S. presidential election, and what amount of silver yet? We don't know. In 2008 to 2011, $50 silver, and you can only imagine the price of silver nowadays, especially with the weaker dollar, things much more severe and extreme. So we don't know yet, but I do know that when that stimulus number is spread around, that's a guaranteed sign that gold and silver will be pushed up. Any amount of stimulus, whether it's candidate A or B, when they throw that out in the economy, it's going to hurt the dollar. I mean, that's obvious, right? It's going to hurt the dollar, and we know that when the dollar's low, gold and silver are high. It's a direct correlation. Dollar index is low, gold and silver is high, and vice versa. So we know that that's at least going to kickstart precious metals in a nice jump off. But what's going to happen to make it stick, right? That's the thing. Anyone could say that, precious metals could benefit from that, but will that number actually stay? Or will it be overbought and come back down within a couple of weeks or a couple of months? My theory is it's going to stay, and this is why. I just made a video yesterday on this channel talking about all the different uses for silver over the next 5 years. And it's not just your typical 5G technology, solar panels, electric vehicles. Scientists are using silver as a, pun intended, a gold mine, just inventing so many things for it, from space equipment to masks that help the virus, since silver has antimicrobial properties. So many things are being invented with silver, especially as we advance in a new technological era and advance digitally. Silver, being the most highly conductive metal, is definitely one of the key players in the game for scientists. So more discoveries, things that haven't even came out yet that we don't even know, will keep getting discovered. And trust me, the demand for silver is not going anywhere. Supply is, though. Supply is going downwards. Not only just from this pandemic being, causing Mexico and Peru, but miners really don't care about silver. That it's not putting money in their pocket. And even before the pandemic, I remember last year talking about this. The last 7 years, they've been cutting back by the hundreds of millions of ounces. This was pre-pandemic. Miners don't care about silver because it's not profitable. They actually were betting their money on gold. I remember making specific videos covering these articles from miners specifically talking about how they have no interest in silver because they're a business. A business has to think about making the most profit, so it makes sense that why would you look for silver when gold is 80 times more valuable, right? Plus, silver is harder to find. So, my thoughts over the next year are this. If and when $30 silver breaks, which I think it could happen in the next year. I mean, look how much has happened over the last year. $30 silver over the next year is definitely possible, especially if things go, well, actually, no matter which way. I was going to say with Biden, we have green technology, but with Trump, we also have this fear, this uncertainty, the controversy, everything that falls along with that also causes safe haven metals like gold and silver to benefit. When people don't trust banks and governments, they turn towards, they try to transfer their money into something more secure. With green energy, there's going to be a lot of money pumped into the silver market for that, photovoltaic cells. Now, regardless of which one of those candidates win, and even when there is a winner, green energy is still a thing. Electric vehicles are still a thing. 5G technology, these towers are still a thing. Silver's electrical conductivity is not going anywhere. And the circulating supply is lost. So I don't think $50 silver will happen next year. A lot of people are trying to say that the short term is very bearish, and rightfully so. It should be. I hope it is, so I can accumulate more silver. See, mainstream media, they're going to look at the short term and only go off of that. They're going to say, silver's bearish, don't buy it. They're not following through. Yes, it's bearish, but that's why you should buy it. And the medium to long term, it's looking extremely bullish. Why would you look at an investment solely from the short term perspective? That makes no sense. Get in before the curve. Most people will look at silver right now, say it's $25. Ooh, it's not doing anything. It's a bust. Why buy that? While me and you look at $25 silver, wow, that's extremely undervalued. We can buy it for cheap right now. We know the way the economy's headed, silver is going to rise. So we buy it right now, and then after it rises, we sell it. Most people, the average person, not me and you, the average person, invests like this. They need to see proof in the pudding. They wait until silver starts rising $30, $40, $50, because then they have their proof, and then they start buying it after it's already exploded. Well, guess what? After it gets to $30, $40, $50, the price isn't going to rise much more, but it has for us buying it at 25. So the people that pay it, that got in before the curve, are selling it to the people that are buying it at the top. Same thing happened with Bitcoin. I was buying Bitcoin at $1,800. Most people bought it at $20,000. You should have been buying it before everyone started talking about it. Once everyone starts talking about it while it's all over the news and friends and family, it's too late. You missed your chance. You never want to buy while everyone else is buying. That's when you should sell. Same thing goes for silver. Same thing goes for anything. That's investing 101. Buy low, sell high. Most people buy high, sell low, right? So my whole point is this: next year is going to be extremely interesting. A lot of different things are going to happen. A lot of different things are going to play through. The direction of the markets are going to be crazy. But this is what you got to remember. Short term is irrelevant. The medium to long term is what we got to focus on, especially if you can narrow down your time frame of when you're planning on selling. If you're planning on selling in like 5 to 10 years, things are going to get interesting pretty fast, and you're going to have to really be on your A game. Me, I'm not planning on selling for 20, 25 years, 30 years. I'm only 28 years old, so I have no reason to sell earlier than that unless there's an opportunity that arises, but I really don't see any reason to. Now, if you are more in the medium term category, you won't have as much time to stack, especially, and this is the thing, a lot of times people don't think about their top price they'll pay. So I ask you this question: what is the highest amount for an ounce of silver you're willing to pay? Because once the price starts rising, you have to have that number and you have to stick to it, because impulse buying is a real thing and it's very, very hard not to. You think that you don't want to pay it $40 for an ounce of silver, but once silver gets to $40 and you see that the price is this explosion is happening, you start panicking. You want more silver because you don't think you have enough, and you start paying $40, $50, $60, and then the price goes back down to $40, $30, and you just paid way too much. And that's because you were investing off emotion. Have a number, stick to it, and don't go above it. Just like when it comes to selling, have a number, stick to it, and don't go below it. So what's your number? Ask yourself. Mine? That's a hard question, but I'll throw something out there. So my price that I probably wouldn't pay above is probably $40. Probably, well, I guess it depends, like how long until it gets to that price, but probably around $40, $50, honestly. I'm willing to pay $50 for an ounce of silver. You know why? Because I still know that that's extremely undervalued. That's extremely cheap for silver, especially since I'm not planning on selling for another 20 years. Someone shouldn't be paying for an ounce of silver that's $50 if they're planning on selling in 5, 10 years. See where I'm going? Depending upon when you're going to sell should depend upon what price you're going to pay. Imagine 20 years down the line from now. Do you really think silver's still going to be $50? No. It's going to be much higher. Honestly, ask yourself, in 2 decades, imagine how much stuff's going to happen. Imagine how many more presidents there'll be. Imagine how much weaker the dollar will be. Imagine how scarce gold and silver will be. Do you honestly think silver will still be in this $20, $30, $40 range? No, it won't. So paying $40, $50 for an ounce of silver, if that's your time frame of selling, should be pretty, that's a pretty rational investment, right? But if you are planning on only for 5 to 10 years, don't pay $50 for an ounce of silver. I'd probably say the highest you should go is 30. A lot of times people underestimate or minimize the potential, especially outsiders. But even it happens with us. You won't believe how many people on my channel are very bearish, even though they do stack silver, and that's great. You have to be realistic. If you don't think, just because we invest in the silver doesn't mean we have to be bullish, right? For example, over the next year, if I honestly think that silver is not going to do much, I'm going to tell you guys it probably won't do much. Just like right now, the short term, it's probably not going to do much. And if it does, it's not going to stay there because everything is so wishy-washy. It could jump up to $30 in the next couple of weeks, but it's probably not going to stay there unless something fundamentally, something big enough to take notice happens to really set fuel. But I don't see too much happening after this election. I think things are going to try to settle down, stable down. People are going to try to figure out which direction things are headed, and then we'll have an idea of where to start from, right? That's what is probably going to happen. I can't say it will because, especially in today's world, there's so much craziness happening. Things can change with the drop of a dime, so you got to be on your toes. You got to be ready. You got to be on your A game, and you got to learn how to adjust and adapt. You really do. Everything I've been talking about is all theory. It's all what I think is going to happen, but trust me, tomorrow something could happen out of this world. Something could happen so crazy out of left field that could throw the markets way off, and we would never see it coming. Who would have thought that there would be a global pandemic? All the price forecasts from last year are way off because nobody knew a global pandemic would be happening to drastically change the markets, and the same thing could happen next year. Got to be able to adjust and adapt. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Hopefully the audio does sound better. I'm sorry that it was low. I was trying to adjust the levels. It's really hard when I have headphones on trying to see what it sounds like coming out of a laptop or a cell phone, but hopefully it does sound better now. Hopefully you guys were able to enjoy this video and understand what I was saying. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you thought this video was educational, informational, at least entertaining. Make sure you subscribe. I post daily videos. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.